Test, test. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the BFF Members Only Happy Hour. Thank you for coming out. Just to give you like a lay of the land, food is coming out. In the back, we've got our stations. We've got information about membership, which y'all all are members. We have Breakup with Patriarchy station if you want to write a breakup letter to Patriarchy. We have the Bring Britney Home campaign station. If you want to find out about our Bring Britney Home campaign. We have the Miss Me Tea station. We're selling these Miss Me Teas for $15. And we have the In Our Name station outside. But if you want to take us to the next slide, we're going to do a quick little giveaway. Well, y'all got the first one. Okay, so we've got 3 quotes. Not the first one, but if you can let me know who said it for one of the second ones. So the first one we had was, there is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives. That's Audre Lorde, one of our North Stars. Second one, we got no pride for some of us without liberation for all of us. The other option we have is Black Girl Magic. Y'all can't stand it. Y'all can't ban it. Made out like a bandit. They've been trying hard just to make us all vanish. I suggest they put our flag on a whole nother planet. So the first person who can let me know who said one of these 2 will get one of our giveaway boxes packed with our BFF swag and one of our Breakup with Patriarchy shirts. So come find me if you can tell me who said it. All right, y'all, we got our first giveaway winner, Magdalene. So first quote was Audre Lorde, if you want to give us the next slide. Second one was Marsha Pay It No Mind Johnson. And the last was the one, the only Janelle Monáe. So Magdalene, come get your box. And AV, can you give us the next slide, please? So, next up, we're gonna do a little mixing, mingling. I saw y'all talking to each other already. Again, this is the first time some of us have been in person, but so glad that y'all are here with us. So, find somebody, introduce yourself, start with the obvious basics. So your name, your pronouns, where you from, and what's your favorite song to buzz down to? And then if somebody can come up on the mic, brave space, and let us know who you met, then we have one of these lovely Miss Meaties for you for free. All right, y'all, we got our first brave soul.
Okay. I met Leanne. She's right there. Hey. She's from Chicago. Her pronouns are she, her. And her favorite song to bust down to is anything she can tap her left foot to. She didn't say the right foot. One leg, one leg.
All right, we'll see you in the back for your free Miss Meaty. AV, can you give us the next slide, please? All right, next round of Black Feminist Trivia. Who said it? First one, you don't always have to be doing something. You can just be, and that's plenty. We got, I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. And middle fingers up, put them hands high, wave it in his face, tell him, boy, bye. Any one of these three for a free box. Not in the back, nope. Come on. Which one you got? Last one.
Beyonce.
Okay, Beyonce, we got you a free box in the back. What was your name? Brianna. All right, we got you coming up.
Y'all like Meg? Nobody likes Meg? Okay, we got one person who likes Meg. Good, 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 good. We're gonna get started in just a few seconds here, y'all. I don't know how to. I think that's how you. Okay. All right. Okay, okay, everybody. How y'all doing? Good, good. Y'all got y'all's mouths full. That's good. That's good. That's fine. Welcome to the Miss Me with Misogynoir Summit. I want to start by thanking y'all so much for coming out. We are going to talk about the disrespect that Black women, girls, and gender expansive folks have been just been dealing with for a long, long time, right? This ain't nothing new, is it? So we're gonna talk about it and ways we can combat it. So I'm gonna go ahead. We had a video up here. Is anyone familiar with the term misogynoir? You do? Okay. Wait, who said that? Who wants to say what misogynoir is? You wanna say? Nobody? Don't be shy. Yeah, y'all, we're family in here. You know what it is? Shout it out. Exactly. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Can I say your full thing? So the person who just said that is Jasmine, Kevin Samuels? Yes, Flowers. So I appreciate that name tag. So, but it's just like she was saying, it's the intersection of the hatred that people have for Black women, girls, and gender expansive folks, so people who navigate the world in bodies that are perceived as feminine. And yeah, so being a Black woman, girl, or gender expansive person, that hatred we feel. So, moving on. Oh, here's the video. Hold up. Let me see if I can. Hold on. Technical difficulties, y'all. Hold on 1 second. Tech friend. Well, while we're waiting on this, I want to encourage y'all, we are still in a panini, so I understand we are socially distant, but if y'all want to come to the middle part here, our panelists are able to see y'all and see y'all interact when y'all are like, period. So they're going to be able to see y'all. So if y'all want to move to the this part here, that would be great. You don't have to. And we're about to get started in just a few minutes. But while we're also doing that, I just want to go over some housekeeping really quickly. So out here, through these doors are the restrooms. So you go right through there. We got the bar over here. I hope y'all got a No Mo Misogynoir cocktail. It was made specifically for this event, so thank you to the Gathering Spot bar manager for making that happen. Over here we have the food. We got the grub back there, so y'all make sure y'all get some of that. And this is where the panel is gonna be. Well, y'all got 30 more seconds, so y'all keep eating, keep having fun, and we'll get started in just a second. Thank y'all.
Hello, hello.
Awesome. So, yes, so that was by Moya Bailey, the person who coined misogynoir. Really glad we got a grounding in what misogynoir is, because it's, again, just a really big, hairy term for the hatred that we experience. So, all right, y'all, we're going to get into our panel. Y'all ready for the panel? Okay, yes, bust down. Look. So we have 4 panelists. I'll just tell you a little bit about why we chose the panelists we chose. So we chose the podcasters, Queen and Jay. Are y'all familiar? Anybody familiar with Tea with Queen and Jay? Awesome. They're podcasters, so they're joining us today. We also have Diamond Styles. She's also a podcaster. Have y'all heard of Marsha's Plate? Anybody here? Awesome. Dope. Y'all got some fans up in here. Y'all see these fans? We also have Nicole Young. So there was a really dope article floating around the internet. I don't know if y'all saw it, but it was about the manosphere. And it was really, really awesome. Yeah, and so we were like, let's bring the author of that into this conversation. So really, really excited to get into our panel. But first, I want to, again, thank the BFF team. We are Black Feminist Future. My name is Sam. I use she, her pronouns. We got Dominique Simone, the director of Power Building, in the back on the ones and twos. And the one snapping over there with the gold bracelet over there, that's Selena, our deputy director. So, yes, thank you. And thank you to the Gathering Spot for hosting, for having us. So, and thank you to the bar for them drinks. Awesome. So we're going to get right into it. Again, we just ask, community guidelines, be respectful. If you need to use the restroom, go through there. If you have questions or anything for the panelists, we're asking that you tweet them. So you can tweet your questions at BFF and use the hashtag #MissMeWithMisogynoir. So, yes, there's going to be a Q&A portion. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, we're going to start this panel off. We already talked about what is misogynoir, right? We had someone from the audience tell us. We watched a video on it. So, we're going to talk about it in different areas, how it shows up in our lives. So, what I would like to ask our panelists, if they could start off with what are some examples of misogynoir that you have encountered, that you have seen, things that really stick out in your mind when you think examples of misogynoir? Can y'all hear? Can we turn the... So sorry, Jay. Could you repeat that? It's a little low. Just go again. No, it's not you. It's not you. It's just, we're just going to turn the volume up a little bit. Yeah, talking about seeing the audience. I know, I thought we would be able to see, and they might fix that during. So maybe y'all, I told them that y'all are going to be able to see them being like, period, when y'all saying all the things that resonate. So we'll see if we can't fix that through. But yes, if we could turn it up a little bit. No, I'm off. No, I'm off to the side. Yeah, no worries. We're all family. It's a conversation, so all good. But I was just asking if each of the panelists could tell us about a time when misogynoir really affected you, really impacted you, a time that really sticks out in your mind when you think misogynoir.
Diamond, you're on mute.
Not your mic. The Zoom is on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So for me, it was definitely in my professional life. When I was a teen girl, I was just they were kind of like, this is not what you're supposed to be. So they weren't weird. There was so many things that was conversations that was stopping them for me thinking about Misogynoir. But when I got older and I was in my 20s and I became a sex worker, there was this photographer who was like the coveted photographer, because in sex work you got to have the right pictures that's going to bring the clients. And so in that mode, I got introduced to him. He was kind of exclusive. I got introduced to him by my friend, and I did a photo shoot with him. And he told me that the pictures were going to be done and edited in about 3 weeks. So 3 weeks come along, and he tells me that he doesn't say anything. He doesn't answer my calls. He doesn't, all this kind of stuff. So I'm sending him voicemails, and at first I'm like, I don't want to be the ghetto Black girl. So I'm kind of like, I don't want to, I want to be super, super nice and super, super professional. So I'm sending him all kind of nice messages and like, just let me know what's going on. And, and then, just keep me up to date and blah, 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 blah. So I finally was really stern, not rude, just really like, hey, so, I want to continue this relationship. Let's be professional and just let me know what's going on. And my voice was stern and I didn't do any cussing. And he called me and said, oh, I was wondering when the Black girl was going to come out. And in that moment, I was like, only a Black girl would go through this, because because that means you had this set up thing wondering when the Black girl was going to come out. You had this idea of what I was supposed to be. And I was really just being myself and just being professional as I thought I was to be. But you would never say this to a white woman. You would never say this to the gay dudes that you fuck with, because this was a gay white male. And I felt like this was a specific type of thing that you would never say to anybody else. This is a Black girl specific thing, because you have these ideas of what a Black girl is. And I guess I was being professional. So you like, oh, she's not being the hood Black girl. And then when I press the issue, oh my God, that's the Black girl coming out. And so to me, that was my first idea of how Misogynoir can kind of play out in professional settings.
Yeah, thank y'all for sharing that. That's why we really wanted to have this conversation, because we all have so many experiences like this. How many of y'all have experienced things like this in your professional life, in your personal life? Right, exactly. So we wanted to talk about this and how it shows up, because it's not only annoying, it's not only devalidating to us as people, but it's also deadly. So we really want to talk about Misogynoir in the different aspects of our lives and how it shows up. So thank y'all so much for starting out with that. So I want to move to Misogynoir in media and pop culture. I think that's really interesting. We see a lot of examples in that, right? Rap lyrics, we see the polarization. So you can only be either Meg Thee Stallion or Michelle Obama. And the thing is, it's like Diamond was saying, we shouldn't be put in these boxes, right? Some days I'm Michelle Obama, some days I go high, whatever. And some days I'm Meg Thee Stallion, especially when we were talking about busting it down like we were earlier, y'all in the happy hour. I'm gonna bust it down. And that has nothing to do with my value or my character. So I would love to get into talking about Misogynoir and dating, because it really, Misogynoir and media and pop culture. So I want to kick it to Queen and or Jay. I want to hear what y'all have to say as people who have podcasts.
Yeah, so we are all aware of the recent passing of high-valued Kevin Samuels. And I wanted to bring up how he is, I don't really want to talk about him in particular, but I want to bring up how he is a symbol of how Misogynoir is a marketing tool, and how it is something that a lot of people in media, I'm going to speak specifically to Black men, but all kinds of media uses that as something to get the coin. So Kevin Samuel's most recent example that I have in my mind is someone who was trying to make content for a long time. And what made him pop was when he had the video disparaging, talking about Black women, and how that like spearheaded his career so quickly in just a period of 2 to 3 years, whereas now he's being featured in on Atlanta, and he's being used for promo for Future's new album, who is another one who just really sits very firm in misogynoir and using that as their tool for entertainment and to make money. So that's something that I notice a lot, how they use misogynoir to make them money. It is a profitable tool that all media has used and will continue to use, and it's ridiculous. But I do think that it is important that we have conversations about how misogynoir makes people money.
Yeah, and to piggyback, I want to say two things. But first, I want to piggyback on what Queen said about Kevin Samuels. I, like most of us who were not wishing for his death, but some were relieved, for lack of a better term. But when I watched Atlanta, it's a show that I watch, it's both good and problematic. But when I watched the episode featuring Kevin Samuel, knowing that he had already passed, I was thinking, wow, it's good that in some way this person who we learned, died alone and died not being the person who he purported to be, not having the things that he claimed were so valuable. In some way, it's good that he gets to go out as, somebody like, oh, he can act. Oh, that was an interesting episode. He's now a part of this larger, more relevant cultural canon. And then something that Queen pointed out is that positioning him in this way, even to me, it's like, okay, the witch is dead, so it's not anything I have to think about anymore. But it does in some ways legitimize what he had been doing and the abuse that he'd been carrying out to Black women. And in my head, it's like, okay, he's dead, so it's over. But the flip side of this is that when he was cast in this role, he was very much alive. And so what's the implication of casting somebody who is abusive to both Black women, and he was disparaging to Black men as well, which doesn't make any of this okay? What's the benefit of featuring him in this role and then thus giving him the opportunity to have a larger platform? Even if the intention of having him in that role, to me, I first interpreted it as, oh, well, he's known on the internet as disparaging people. So in this role in Atlanta, he's disparaging this other character. So maybe that's why he was cast. But you put him in there and it gives him a larger platform. There were people on social media like, oh, I didn't know who he was, but now I'm kind of curious about what he was getting into. So the way that that seems like a really small thing if you dismiss the fact that he was notorious for leveraging the shaming of Black women for clout, popularity, money. He had over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, which is, astronomical, and you can make a lot of money from that. So I wanted to add that point regarding Kevin Samuel. I also wanted to talk about, to your point, Sam, how you talked about we can be both, or the how people try to polarize the Megan Thee Stallion image versus a Michelle Obama image, and kind of bring up Charlemagne, who is an older person in media who has rebranded himself as some sort of supporter of not just Black people, but Black women in particular, who has Black feminist friends who defend him when he says something ridiculous. But one of the building blocks of his career was disparaging Black guests that he had on the show. And he was notorious for what it is that a lot of people do to Black women, is that you can either be, and you put a name to it, but you can either be the way a lot of people view a Megan Thee Stallion. You can either be a bitch or you can be a queen. So we are bitches or queens. There's nothing in between. And if you're a bitch, I don't have to respect you. And if you're a queen, I will treat you with the specialness and with the respect that you have earned, because I see you as a queen because you have done things that have earned you a certain amount of respect. So Black women are relegated to people who have to earn respect, rather than just being, we're all human people, this is another person, I'm gonna respect them. But we're dehumanized to the point where it's like, if I haven't done something that a man sees as above and beyond, like a Michelle Obama, then I have not earned my respect. But he was notorious, and a lot of people forget, and it's possible that because I'm a New Yorker, I remember this. But he was notorious for deciding how he would treat each Black woman guest depending on who they were and where they fit on that spectrum of bitch or queen. So if he considered them to be of a certain lower class, he would make them cry or say he wanted to suck a fart out their butt or be otherwise disrespectful. If they were somebody who he thought was a queen or of some value, then he would treat them like, oh, you're a Black person. I will treat you with the respect of another Black person. And that was, again, excluded, that was reserved for a certain kind of Black woman. And now he has rebranded himself as this person who is, all Black Lives Matter, and he'll have Black activists on the show, Black women activists on the show. He'll have trans folks on the show. And then when they're not there, he will revert back to what we know his true politics to be, which is one of, Black people are men and women are white. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just interesting how he has been allowed to rebrand himself, because for even people who remember the harm that he's done to Black women, it's not that serious to them. It's not that serious. Again, there are Black feminists or people who leverage Black women, who leverage Black feminist politics in the media, who have outwardly defended him and said, oh, he's trying, he wants to be better, he this, that, when, maybe that's your friend, but that doesn't mean that he's worth defending in that way.
Can I just add on? Oh, I'm sorry. Garmin, were you going to go?
Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to add on, one of the things that I felt when Kevin Samuels died was the fact I didn't think Ding Dong the Witch is dead, but also I recognize that he leaves a vacuum behind, right? And part of the reason that vacuum exists is because none of these people that we're talking about are and misogynoir as an idea, while the term might be new, the actual function of misogynoir dates back to our Black women's forced arrival in this country, right? So the reason why it works, the reason why you can build a career off of misogynoir is because it's so deeply ingrained in every aspect of our culture, right? And you wouldn't be able to be a Kevin Samuels, wouldn't be able to be a Charlemagne the God if it weren't a thing that you could tap into, a thing that you can really just push on the button and people are like, oh yeah, I think that anyway, right? It's like what with your story, Diamond, when you're talking about, well, I was waiting for the Black girl to come out. There is a mold, there's a story, and that story is centuries old in this country, and that story is now the name is misogynoir, but it's the thing that's embedded in everything in our culture. And I was saying to the panelists before we got on, you could take it back to, there's a Virginia slave law in 1662 that says that Black women's children are enslaved, right? So that is law. That is a law that's talking about our bodies at the intersection of misogyny and racism, right? Our children were determined to be slaves in 1662, right? You can talk about multiple points in our history in which misogyny, this ire and anger and political animus against Black women is encoded in everything that affects our lives. And that's why you can tap into this version of a queen, a queen and or the bitch, right? The welfare queen trope has gone down from every generation, right? The idea that we are aggressive has gone to every generation. And the reason they exist is because they had to exist in order to normalize our subjugation, right? First in slavery times and then later on, right? These ideas about who we are as Black women had to exist in order for these unjust things that were happening to us in the 1600s, the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, and now, in order for them to be okay, we have to accept that Black women are less deserving of care and are not real people, so.
And then when we think about the coin and how the history of, men, not just Black men, but men, comedians dressing up as Black women, legitimizing stereotypes about Black women. Currently, with white men doing it, they have the privilege of individualism. So when they do it, we don't look at them and say the whole community is emasculated because of I'm dressing up as a dude. They don't say that to each other. But our men say that, especially in this generation now, when they see the the comedians dressing up. Oh, they all have to dress up as girls to be able to be successful. Eddie Murphy did it. So and so. They have made this thing of making fun of us something that is emasculating them, totally ignoring and not prioritizing what it actually does, which is ruin our image and make us look like the Sapphire, make us look like the Mammy, make us look like, you know, all the things, the attitude-y woman, all the things that that leads to those beliefs that photographer said. When was the black girl going to come out? These things actually affect our lives, and that's Misogynoir, where you can make up these things. Black men can make up these things that don't really affect them, because these dudes are beings. There's men who are successful without dressing up as women, and they can make it seem like it's an attack on them, but literally this is an attack on us that results in our harm, that results in our oppression. So that is Misogynoir.
And I just want to add, I love that Diamond has brought up our depiction in media and film. As we, as a society, become more aware, and this is a concept, just to lay this out, this is a concept from Yomi Adegoke, and she wrote an article called The Rise and Rise of the Disposable Black Girlfriend, right? So even when we see in media shows that we love that try to incorporate more Black women characters and make them a bit more well-rounded, and no longer the mammy, no longer the, you know, quote unquote strong Black woman or angry Black woman. As we shift away from those flagrant images of misogynoir in media, we now are confronted sometimes. There's this trope where, as she explains, Black women are placed in romantic roles. And again, this is also now a shift from the sassy best friend trope, right? So now we're being placed in these romantic roles because we can be seen as beautiful and desirable and all that stuff, but it is usually in service of the main character to ultimately find love and companionship with a white woman, right? So with the true white woman, even if the romantic interest, even if the main character is a Black man, they will date a Black woman. She'll come up, we'll all be excited. Oh, they have so-and-so on the show. And ultimately, it is either the relationship doesn't work out, she can't fulfill all his needs, or she humbly bows out because it's clear that his true love is this white woman that maybe he's been on and off again or whatever. But definitely check out that article. But I thought it was really interesting because I think a part of the dehumanization of any marginalized group, and Black women in this case, Black women and femmes, is that it's so insidious that even when folks allegedly try to do better, we're still seen as less than human, and we are still used as disposable. So there's so many instances. Just think of all the shows where it's like, oh, they got a Black woman on this season, or Karen in You, for anybody who watches that. And we know that he's murdering people on that show, and that's its own problem. But she wasn't even worth murdering. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a really interesting thing. And again, that article is by Yomi Adegoke.
I wanted to say something real quick. I'm thinking about the polarization and like Michelle Obama and Megan Thee Stallion, and I'm thinking about how all of that is also influenced by heteronormativity. So like that spectrum is created about either like who is married or who is more marriable and who is not. And it's just weird how that structure really dictates your value as a woman. And we all know that the proximity to men is what does that. But it's you know, as more as you unpack and you notice the way that heteronormativity just exists in that way and how it has decided for you, your worth. I'm thinking about even my childhood, like being queer and not really understanding and not really positioning myself to boys the way the other girls around me did, and how I was kind of like a weirdo for that, or like someone who like, maybe I was more so a hoe because it was just like the things, those marriable things, those things that made my proximity to men more important and more valuable, I wasn't even really here for. I didn't get it. It made no sense. But because I wasn't on that spectrum and I didn't really realize how much heteronormativity like determines where you fit on that spectrum, and why I never really felt like I fit, but how that also contributed to how I was treated by men, Black men and Black women.
And how we are never actually able to be, we have to constantly prove that we are a Michelle Obama if we want to be that. We got to constantly prove, because we're actually, the default is for us to be fast. It's for us to be sexual, to us to be objectified. We have to be on such a level where Michelle Obama is a Princeton graduate. We have to, of course, we know the whole the saying of we got to be twice as good, but we have to constantly even if we got to constantly prove that we are good enough, that we are good, worthy of love, that we are worthy of being this kind of standard of what a good girl, to even get any kind of semblance of respect and love. We got to constantly do that. It's never we're automatically here or we're automatically there. We're automatically on the negative side, and we have to prove ourselves to be either on the positive side. And that positive side has a lot of racist, old, white femininity, white womanhood rules in it that don't even apply to us. So we can't even, a lot of times as Black women, when we go back all the way to the history of us coming here, we weren't even considered women in that regard, because we didn't fit these ideals of what white womanhood was.
Exactly. These are really, really great points, y'all. I see that we have kind of moved into like talking about the dating and love sphere, so I'd like to go there if we could. I know, we're Black Feminist Future, and we believe, we know that Black women, girls, and gender expansive folks are inherently valuable. And so we shouldn't have to, like you were saying, Dama, we shouldn't have to like prove or push. So I'd like to go to the Misogynoir and dating piece. And I'm looking at you, Nicole. That article, I think we have someone who read the article. We have a few people here. I would love to know, what your experience is. If you want to talk a little bit about that article and that experience, let's talk about misogynoir and dating.
Sure. I wanted to go off of really quickly something that Queen and both Diamond were talking about, and this feeds into this dating thing, and it's what Jay was saying too, around this cottage industry around fixing Black women so that they are desirable in a heteronormative way, like a very, very specific heteronormative way. Steve Harvey has done it for years. We talked about, like Jay brought up Charlemagne. And I think about so they're not hot anymore, but Very Smart Brothers was a blog that I used to love in the early aughts. And they've switched, they've also rebranded each of them themselves and have been really honest about the fact that they built their entire brand basically off of dating advice, and dating advice specifically targeting Black women and how Black women could fix themselves to be desirable, to be careable, to be like all of these things. And so again, this is there's a long history of it in which this moment that we're living in fits into a canon of racist and misogynist things that particularly affect our lives. I wrote the article because I went on a really bad date. And there's a couple of people have been like, did you really? I really went on this date. I actually liked this person. We matched, we were going back and forth on the app. I thought they were interesting. We get on the call and it got real weird real fast. And it got real weird because he was saying these words that I had heard kind of snatches of in other places. I'd seen them on Twitter. I had seen them in these other places, but he was saying them to me in a one-on-one interaction, a Black man to me, a Black woman. And it was very sad. I was on that in real time, just really sad about this is what this Black man thinks about me. We're on this date, we've matched, we have all these things in common. And he's saying these kinds of tropes about what he believes that I should be. And back to the heteronormativity, it was all couched in this language about ensuring that he felt like a man and I was staying in my place as a woman. And so that I just started research, because the words had come up enough that I was like, this is coming from a place. And so ended up going down a rabbit hole and stumbling upon this place, the manosphere, this online space that many, especially the early Black women feminists that were doing work on Twitter and who were they experienced a lot of these men that I'd interviewed and talked to years before I ever wrote this article. I think about Feminista Jones and other people who were and even Brittany Cooper, she had sent me a note after I wrote the article that saying she had been harassed by one of the men that I'd interviewed, right? So these men have a continued presence in the world, but they're trading in all of these old tropes, right? They're trading in these mammy tropes, these welfare queen tropes, these sapphire tropes. and they're saying them and repackaging them over and over again. And they're using it as a means to recruit Black men who are feeling marginalized in their own dating lives. And what I tried to do in the article was just ground it in history and ground this conversation in the white supremacy it comes from. Like, that's exactly where it comes from. And we often get into these weird dichotomies where it's like us against, and really it's us against white supremacy. Like, that is what is happening here. And I think one thing that is really shocking to me about the manosphere, the Black manosphere in particular, is that so many of the men who are the content creators in those spaces are people who are experiencing the negative effects of things like fat phobia, queer phobia, homophobia, transphobia. They are actually, what they're experiencing is that, right? And instead of leaning into a liberatory framework that could make us all more free, they're doubling down on these tropes that have existed, again, since the 1600s. So that is, and it's very real in the dating lives of women. And I think the last thing I want to say on this is, like, one of the things that the Black manosphere wants to say to Black women is that when we talk about misogynoir is some sort of existential thing. And to the points that all of my fellow panelists have made, it's dangerous. It's actually physically dangerous for Black women to encounter, and femmes and non-gender conforming, like, for all of us to encounter these people in real life who are constantly being radicalized in this way. It's dangerous for our lives. There are so many statistics about how this shows up in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get into that as well as we continue to go through. But yeah, so I think that a lot of folks can resonate with these things. Like, I haven't been on a terrible date like that, fortunately, so I'm sorry, Nicole, that you had to go on it and learn for us, but really, really glad that you could share those gems that you learned from that experience. I want to move.
It's rampant. Sorry, I just want to say it's rampant. I want to make sure, Sam, I'm so thankful and appreciative and celebratory and elated that you have never experienced that. But I really want to underscore before we move on that experience is not unique in any way to Nicole. And for those of us who have not been face to face, I think what's key about what Nicole is saying is that they were connecting on so many other levels that they had gotten to the point where we can now have an actual date, right? So they were now on the Zoom date. But if we haven't, as Black women, or as Black femmes and Black people who date men, if we haven't gotten to the point where we're now sitting in front of them on the date, at minimum, we have had text exchanges with these people. We have been connected with them, matched with them on Twitter, and you think you're talking to somebody who understands the oppression of Black people as a whole and is inclusive of all people, and then you realize, you get close enough to them and you realize, oh, this is not what they mean at all. So I just want to underscore, and I don't want to imply that that's what you were saying at all, Sam, but I really want to underscore that this is like a standard kind of across the board experience. And something that Kimberly Nicole Foster has said was that when you think about incel white men, right, and the things that we think of when we think of an incel sitting at home, typing on his computer, whatever racist right-wing stuff he's got going on, and anti-woman stuff, misogynist stuff, those populations of white men are often so far removed from what people would consider like mainstream pop culture, the general dating population, whereas Black men who we are a lot of us in closer community with, we will end up like sitting across from these people on a date. Like the thinking of this, the Black manosphere specifically, and that kind of incel thinking that has been, that has infiltrated Blackness, that a lot of Black men right now are espousing, it is within the mainstream Black dialogue, mainstream the memes, your Facebook friend, your friend you went to high school with, the normal one who went to college, and, quote unquote, went to college and did normal, quote unquote, things. They are the ones who are repeating this stuff. It's not a guy, or it's not always a guy in his dirty, pajamas sitting in a dark room in his mom's basement. And these are regular guys who go to brunch with you and think it's okay to sit across from you and tell you who to be and how to be, and are saying some of the most violent, hateful things. that people of other races you associate with this niche group of people who are, again, tweeting from their mom's basement. These are everyday guys who you're at brunch with, you know?
Can I just say, like, when the article came out, so many people reached out to me and were like, my brother's been on this, my cousin's been on this. And I had a person that I only had known in professional spaces. He and I, a Black man, we only have interacted in education and policy spaces. He went in on like a Facebook exchange, and he was just like, you just had a bad date. You just gotta, and like he discounted everything in the article. The harm that we're talking about, like I was talking about, the harm that Black women are experiencing across the board, the data and statistics that show that, I mean, Tinder itself has released all this data around the violence and harm that Black women experience on their app. They have done a report since 2018 about that. And I mean, over and over again, Black men were just dismissing the truth of that experience. And I think to your point, it's like, everybody is the guy who went to college, is your cousin, is your like whatever. But also, right, it's because of the normalization of these tropes around Black women in everyday life that they can just say it and it not be seen as oppressive or aggressive. And Black men think that their own oppression exempts them from being agents of harm. And I think that's, yeah.
Say that. Yes, both of y'all are so right. And it's like, that's why we want to have these conversations, so that we can call it out and say what it is, because it's so embedded into the culture. It's just kind of another thing. So yeah, thank y'all for naming that. I want to move into talking about misogynoir. Unfortunately, we experience a lot of violence, a lot of sexual violence, a lot of patriarchal violence, and it shows up as misogynoir. So I want to go back to something that Diamond had said earlier, talking about being fast. Raise your hand in the audience if y'all have ever heard of like someone being fast, or you were called fast when you were young. What does it mean to be fast? To grow boobs, things you literally can't help. Yeah. So, I want to talk about that and how like our bodies are policed, talking about like being fast girls, being told to put clothes on, being policed by dress codes. Dress codes, we can't show our shoulders, we can't show all of these different things. And a lot of that is steeped in misogynoir. So I want to open it up to any of our panelists who want to discuss misogynoir and how it leads to sexual violence and people blaming us for the violence that happens to us as Black women, girls, and gender expansive people.
Yeah, so I want to start with how it kind of branches off of what we were just talking about with the manosphere and all of that stuff. All of these structures are insidious, and they're insidious for a reason, because it has to be built that no one believes the person who is receiving harm. So no one is going to believe, like Nicole, you did research, you experienced, you did all of this stuff, and there were still people who are just going to just not believe it, because you just do not believe that harm can happen to Black women, because we're not women, we're not people. We've been dehumanized that much that none of those things matter. And when we talk about these things and rage and quotations about these things, even with that, we make other people's money, so it's just that embedded and that insidious. And like, even if you can't call something misogynoir, something wrong has happened. So like, I not to, denounce your experiences, but you have experienced misogynoir on a date. You just did not have the language for it yet. Manosphere is like a new word, but I'm sure you have been with some person who was wild, it said some disrespectful shit, and it's because of who you are. So you might not have the language for it yet, because it's so insidious that you think it's normal. We are told men are dogs, all of this stuff, that this is what we expect from them anyway. So why would you like name it something as misogynoir? And then when it comes to like being fast or being a fast girl, being a girl who was called that, I'm so grateful that was nothing that happened in my family. But when I went out and interacted with the world, it is almost as if it's an excuse or to always hold me accountable for any harm that happens to me. right? So if I do speak now and I do talk about harm, it does not matter because I've already been told that it's my fault because I'm fast. It's my breast that grew. It is something that I should do and change. So grown men don't talk to me when I walk down the street looking like a 14-year-old girl, you know. So a lot of that stuff is kind of on purpose to also keep rape culture going. We all know that rape and sexual violence is used as a war tool. Like this is something that for centuries has been used as a way to oppress women, and it's not going to be different on an intracommunal level or, you know, in that way. This is something that has always been used to enforce patriarchy, sadly. So yeah, so those are like my thoughts on like why we call girls fresh, why we make everything their fault, because we don't want to believe Black women, and everything that happens to us because it's supposed to, and it's our fault.
Absolutely. And it's in their culture and their conditioning to groom us to be these pick-me girls. It is in their
Yes.
culture and conditioning to gaslight us into not believing facts and research. It is ingrained as a person who had a boyhood as a little boy. I remember grown-ass men having conversations with me about how to manipulate girls. Like I remember these conversations because I identified as a girl, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is not what? It didn't resonate with me at all. But as a person who they were trying to rear and bring into this, whatever the spoils of manhood they thought that I was supposed to get, they were trying to condition me to learn these steps, to learn these things, and it's in their grooming. It's that, and in that date, he was trying to groom you into being his perfect little thing. And if you were somebody who had low self-esteem, you were somebody who was not strong in yourself, you would have been like, God, we connected in these great levels. And maybe if I change a little bit about myself, maybe I can make this work. If you were a weak woman who did not have a mind to kind of be like, no, I'm not crazy, it will work on you. And they are trained by society, trained by their uncles, their brothers, and everything to do this to us. That's what it is. Period. And they use your vulnerabilities. And me as a light-skinned trans woman, they'll come to me and talk shit about dark-skinned women to try to make me feel like that's gonna boost up my morale. Like, ooh, you like light-skinned girls. Or talk shit about cisgender women because they haven't accepted their queerness in their own selves. They'll come to me like, oh, I don't like fucking with cisgender women while still fucking with cisgender women. And I just like y'all better, thinking that's gonna make me feel some kind of better way, automatically trying to pit me against these other kind of people. They are trained to do that. And if you're stupid, you'll fall for it. But I'm not. So I know that, like you said, this stuff that we're trying to dismantle is actually going to help you be free and be yourself and be the identity that you're trying to hide from. But the problem is they're not invested in that because they want what white men have. They don't want to dismantle the gender stuff. They want to dismantle the race stuff, period. They don't care about this misogyny stuff. They don't care about that because they want what the white man has and they just want it in blackface. And many people have said that, but that's the truth.
Yeah, I just want to add, sorry, Nicole, go ahead. Okay. I just want to add one of the, I think, the cross sections of this, the kind of victim blaming that happens when we talk about Black femme victims of sexual assault. I think about, content warning for mention of Bill Cosby, but I think about the way in which Black men who participated in defending him really positioned it as if he were being attacked by white media and white women in particular, right? And calling out almost all these white women against Bill Cosby, ignoring the fact that a number of the survivors were Black women. And really to the point as if it's like they don't even exist, right? So Beverly Johnson, who has said that he drugged her, like she doesn't even exist. You know what I'm saying? And there are a multitude of other black women who survived his assaults, and it's like they don't even matter. We don't even want to talk about them when it comes to the way that these black men have decided to defend Bill Cosby against white women and the white power structure, as if even in the sense that this thinking of like black women can't be sexually assaulted. You know what I'm saying? It kind of falls in line with that. It's like we acknowledge maybe that these white women were sexually assaulted, but why are these white women, trying to take down Bill Cosby, right? Maybe they were sexually assaulted, but in erasing black women, it's really this double-edged sword of you don't exist, and if you do exist, you can't even be sexually assaulted. So why would we even talk about you in this context?
My only addition to that is I want to highlight the work of Professor Kimberly Crenshaw and the African American Policy Forum, but they talk about misogyny all the time. They talk about misogynoir in particular all the time. One of the things that they're trying to highlight with their Say Her Name campaign is the ways that police and state violence affect Black women in particular versus Black women, femmes, and non-binary folks as opposed to Black men. And the primary tool that the state and the police use to harm Black women is home invasion and sexual assault. Like those are the ways that Black women encounter police violence. And it's for all the reasons everyone just said, but particularly what Jay just said around like the function of misogynoir is to invisibilize us and to make it seem, and what Queen was saying earlier, like to make it seem like we could never be assaulted. And so like Daniel Holtzclaw, I don't know if you all know this case, it was in Oklahoma City. He ended up getting 263 years in prison, which is a shocker because he's a police officer. But he assaulted 12 Black women while on the job. On the job, he did this, and he is not alone. Like there's statistics right now that for cops who harm women, sexually assault women, women of color, indigenous women, Black women are overwhelmingly represented in harm by like sexual assault by police officers. And they are, the officers who do the crimes do them repeatedly and never get punished, right? And it's all because they're trading on this idea that we can't be sexually assaulted, and our interactions with police are invisibilized, even in our protests, right? Like we talk about Breonna Taylor, we talk about Tatiana Jefferson, but only after we talk about George Floyd, and we don't talk about the ways that the entering into their home and therefore being invisible to the world changes how we Black women interact with police, as opposed to being stopped on the road. That doesn't make it any less gruesome, any less terrible, right? But it means that it's different, and until we address the difference, we are continuing to feed the beast that is misogynoir.
Absolutely, and I want to take just a moment to piggyback, to transition off of what you were just saying, Nicole. You know, people like to blame us for the things that happen to us. And one of the reasons we started our Bring Brittany Home campaign is because people were not talking about it. Do y'all know about Brittany Griner? What's going on? Oh, great. We care about us, so we know. But one of the things that we want to do with this campaign is amplify and make sure that her name is not forgotten. Her 3 months in Russia being detained in a place that is not friendly to Black people, not friendly to Black women, not friendly to queer people. So again, it's really important for us to squat up for each other and amplify and call out people and hold people accountable for not taking action. So yes, thank you for bringing that up, Nicole. I want to jump back to, y'all are just leading into these points because it's all connected, right? It's all a big oppressive circle. So I want to talk about misogynoir in healthcare. There are so many ways that misogynoir affects Black women, girls, and gender-expansive folks in the healthcare space, right? Black maternal mortality, access to abortion. These things affect us differently than they affect our white counterparts, our non-Black counterparts. So I would love to throw it to anyone who would like to, but I think Queen or Jay, we were talking a little bit in the pre-check about abortion bans and like the control and things. So anybody who wants to talk about that, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I can talk about abortion and abortion bans. So I think that's something that happens in all conversations that involve women. They always center white women in that conversation. And we all know that a lot of reproductive rights work has been done in the past and present led by Black women. So I just wanted to make sure that I'd say that here. Black women and Black people who give birth, not just Black women. I want to make that distinction. But also the way that this country has, since we got here, has controlled our wombs, who we birth, when we birth, how we take care of the children that we have if they do come to term. The way that this country kind of just has its hands on Black children, even before they, even as embryos, it's really like scary and jarring to me that there most likely will be a point where I or other Black folks will not be able to decide whether they even want to make a embryo come to full term. And that's scary to me, especially because a lot of the states, I think 26 of the states, which is like half of the country, if Roe versus Wade is overturned, all of those states are going to go to, as far as states' rights, they're going to ban abortion in those states. Most of those states are in the South. Most Black people live in the South. So this is going to greatly affect Black people in huge ways that, for me, I don't hear being the forefront of the conversation enough, because that's where we're at. And then when it comes to abortion access, we already have the least amount of access to abortions. So now we're in parts of the country where you don't have access, so now you have to travel somewhere to get it. Most Black people are on the poverty line. So how are you taking off of work? How are you getting a hotel to go to a place where you can now get an abortion? How are you paying for the abortion? How are you taking just all of these added expenses that will be added if these things happen, that I don't think that people are focusing the conversation on like the embryo and your right to be able to do it and stuff, but this is really, really, really going to harm Black people in like very serious, ways. And I just wanted to make sure that I said that here today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And, there's so many ways that Misogynoir shows up. And, again, one of the things that Black Feminist Future wants to do is create just that, a Black feminist future where our bodies are our own. We're empowered to make the best decisions for ourselves. So that's why we started our Abortionist Freedom campaign, because we believe abortion is freedom, period. So definitely want to be mindful of all of the reproductive justice work that's going on and doesn't get the coverage and doesn't get the flashy ads and things like that. I'll say that.
Yeah, I wanna add something real quick that I left out. That sure. There is and it does relate to the manosphere and that weird what I call the Black right situation where there have been people, anti-abortion people, who target those men, who target these men who already look at these heteronormative ideas in that way, and they target these men. A lot of these men are anti-abortion for these reasons, and they don't understand that they are being used in a white supremacist, way. Like I have seen ads. It was one. I can't remember where, a big ad with a Black child on it saying Black women get the most abortions. If you care about Black lives, then you should be anti-abortion. Like using propaganda like that and using entryways of religion and these Black right manosphere people, because all of them to me are that, using that as an entryway for them to advocate for Black people who can give birth to lose these rights. And I think it's important to see all the links and how that all comes together. None of that is separate and is not by accident.
Exactly. I want to throw it over to Diamond to talk about healthcare from her experience, the misogynoir that you have experienced in your day-to-day.
We got to get out of our silos as well, because I know a lot of people think that transness is this alien thing sometimes that is not connected to abortion rights. So of course we know trans men can have babies, but I have an invested interest, not as a birthing person, but knowing that once they come after y'all agency of y'all body, they're definitely gonna come after ours. And so when we think about that, and how the nuances of Misogynoir comes up, when we think about this trans youth thing, like they literally are criminalizing parents for supporting their trans kids. Okay, so parents who say I am gonna support my trans kids, they're literally calling it abuse and criminalizing. White people of means, usually people who have access to the doctors, the psychiatrists to diagnose their children and their response is, oh, I have to find out what state I can move to. Where am I gonna move? And blah, 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 blah. Poor Black mothers who want to support their children don't have the money to move. They don't have the money. So who is gonna be affected by the law that's criminalizing parents who support their children? It is going to be Black poor mothers, Black Latina mothers. It's going to Latinx mothers. It is going to be the people who don't have the resources to protect themselves against these kind of politically based attacks. It is going to be those people, and that's another reason, another way Misogynoir comes into the trans conversation, comes into protecting our children conversation. And I think this is really, really important. Another thing for me in healthcare is, as a Black woman, you're gonna come across doctors who don't listen to you when you're in pain. You're gonna come across doctors who, when you tell them something, they ignore you. They ignore your signs. They blame it on your thickness. They blame it, oh, maybe if you lose some weight, it'll do this, da, 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 da. But that's one layer of us not getting taken care of. As a trans woman, I can't even, when I'm coming in, I have to tell people, I have to teach people about transness, particularly when I was in a rural location. Now, I'm in Houston now, so if I'm in a big city, a lot of times people have laid a foundation. But if I'm in a rural place, I have to deal with the religion of the doctor. If they are willing to take care of me, I have to deal with the manosphere that happens in rural areas. I have to deal with whatever these obstacles of that individual just to get the care that I need as a trans person. And I gotta teach them about pronouns. I gotta teach them about so many basic stuff that it exacerbates my experiences as a Black woman and lead to me not getting care, lead to me not getting tested, lead to me so many things that can lead to my demise.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I want to encourage y'all to tweet your questions, tweet your comments. We have a couple folks on these internets talking. I'll just read a couple. So in these streets says, I feel like when we have these conversations with elders who are women, they seem to be satisfied with just Black men being well represented, not Black women. It's frustrating. Hashtag miss me with Misogynoir. We have another one. We had someone talking about the Bill Cosby situation. I don't know if y'all are aware of Trey Songz, the allegations that are coming up against Trey Songz, and it's like a repeat. So, I'm really glad we're having this conversation and we're talking about it very candidly and really diving in deep. So we are getting close to time, y'all. So there's a couple of things I want to come back to that we were talking about. I want to ask y'all a couple questions. So in a world that's truly oppositional to our joy, our success, our beauty, our general existence, all of this misogynistic, misogynoiristic society, how do you cope?
Drugs. No, I'm joking.
Drugs?
I'm joking. Sorry, Jay. So I have always been good. I think because I've had a good familial foundation when it comes to what happened in my home, like affirming me being dark skinned, affirming me kind of like existing the way I want to exist. I wasn't really, my environment did tell me to conform, but I didn't come from a home that like made me have to do that. So it has allowed me to be like extremely courageous. I know that for most people, I present pretty like very confident. I present that I'm okay with what it is, but it's still very difficult because the world is what it is. So for me, it's been like being courageous and just daring to do me. That has been like really, really, really helpful with me, like navigating misogynoir, navigating patriarchy, building community who also affirms me has been amazingly helpful to hear, to speak to people who can put language to things I haven't been able to put language to yet has been helpful. Has expressing an experience and someone, although like, you know, it might have been a harmful experience, it makes you feel more seen when it's like, no, like that is a thing, or this, you know, like that there's a term for that, or this actually happens to this amount of people. So for myself, it's been being courageous, building community, and then also doing everything in my power to unlearn things. I still live in this world. There's still things that I am affected by, and I just have to do the work. I'm not going to front. It gets tiring. That's why I jokingly said drugs, because who always wants to be pushing against the system? Like, I just want to wake up and like go to work and go home, you know, but I'm not allowed to do that, and it's ridiculous. But I do think being courageous and having community has been really, really helpful for me.
Awesome. And Queen, you said the P word, so I want to go back to that. So we have a station here, our Breakup with Patriarchy station. I hope y'all all wrote a breakup letter to patriarchy. So what would you write in a breakup letter to patriarchy? Or a text, because, you know, it's 2022.
Child, I broke up with you when I was 13, and I do not feel you. I told you I don't feel you back then. Why are you back? I am 41. I don't need you in my life. I don't need you around me. I see you fucking up everybody else around me, and I don't want you. Stop coming to my house. No, I'm not gonna give you any kind of attention. This is the last text. You keep calling me from different numbers, different ways to come in. I'm gonna block this number just like I blocked the other motherfucking numbers that you hit me from. I'm gonna block your mama number. I'm gonna block everybody connected to your number that you try to call me from, because I'm not interested. Stay out of my life.
Y'all, can we get a collective period on 3? 1, 2, 3, period. Yes, Diamond. Yes. Awesome, y'all. Well,
I want to add
Oh, go ahead.
bit, because I feel like within this work, I think Black feminists, womanists, those of us who, well, all of us, I feel like we're still impacted by how we're seen and how we're perceived and how we're received. And I think it's tempting for us to still, and I see it online with a lot of Black feminists, still want to be seen as likable, still want to be seen as not hating men, still want to be seen as, you know, somebody who can be friends with Charlemagne or whatever, right? I'm on that. That's a thing for me. But anyway, I think that for me, what's been liberating for me has been letting go of all of that. What's been liberating for me is I don't care if you think that I hate men. What's been liberating for me is knowing that my dating options, as somebody who mostly dates men, my dating options are going to be extremely limited, and that's the reality. And I find comfort and safety and friendship in other Black femme people. My joy is in that, so I don't need the validation of a masculine or man friend thinking that I'm a good person or a bad person. We do not care. I do not care. And I think I would like to see amongst other Black feminists and womanists and people who speak outwardly on misogynoir, I would like to see more comfort in, and it's not, I'm just saying this not because I have to defend it, but I don't hate men, but I also don't care if you think I hate men. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that has been a real issue for a lot of us who still, like there was this realization that I had in my journey as a Black womanist, as a feminist, that I can't play with everybody. I'm not going to be able to play with men the way I could play with them before, when I was ignorant to what they were doing and the harm they were causing, when I was just accepting that this is a part of the deal. And I think that for a lot of us who outwardly talk about issues of misogyny, misogynoir, things that affect womanism, Black feminism. A lot of us still behind closed doors are accepting, when we engage with men, that the abuse is a part of the deal, that it's a part of the package. And I think that if we are more openly and outwardly okay with being seen as people who hate men, because that's just really what it is, the way that lots of white people have decided that when you say Black Lives Matter, you're, reverse racism and you hate them or whatever. We need to be okay with that, I think, within the Black feminist, within the womanist space. Like, it's okay if you think that I hate you. I don't care.
Yes,
Also,
yes, say that.
I just wanted to go back to the question you asked earlier, Sam, around like, what do you do? Writing that article and researching for that article was one of the darkest times in recent memory for me. It was like, I was daily watching videos of men just say over and over again horrible, horrible things about Black women, about queer people, about everything. I had to sage the house regularly. I had to go on walks and hikes regularly because it was really dark. And I think for me, all of the things that have been said are how I ground myself, community, other Black women. But I also get a lot of energy from knowing that other people have been doing this for a really long time and knowing their stories, right? Like, we know Ida B. Wells' story because she was doing all this work on lynching, but we don't know, oftentimes we don't know about her own Supreme Court case where she was trying to assert her Black woman and her right to womanhood, right? Like, we know Rosa Parks because of the bus, but we don't often think about the fact that she was advocating for Recy Taylor, who was a rape victim, to thrive, right? We talk about Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. We don't often talk about African-American women in defense of themselves. Like, there have been and will continue to be resistance movements from Black women who are standing up for Black women. And that gives me a lot of joy. And every time I uncover those moments, like in my own learning and unlearning, as Queen was saying, like, they give me energy and strength to be able to do the thing that Jay said, which is be able to I don't give a fuck if you don't like that, what I'm saying about this, it matters, and I'm gonna talk about this, and I don't care if you think I don't like you. I'm talking about freedom. I'm talking about liberation. And liberation and freedom require something different than what we've been doing. And yeah, those are the things that bring me joy.
For me, it is, we have already proven ourselves as Black women. We have proven ourselves time and time again to step up for Black men. We have proven ourselves time and time again to step up for white women. We have proven ourselves to step up for other queer people, other queer racial demographics. We have laid most, if not all, of the conversations that we are having now that is helping people get the language was steered by Black queer women. We have literally laid the foundation for them to dismantle their own oppression. We have proven ourselves enough. And many times, you talked about it earlier, Nicole, each one of those demographics have turned their back on us. We got many, many examples of them throwing us under the bus for a semblance of power, for a semblance of something. And so we have proven ourselves. We don't have to let people, don't have to feel bad about calling people out for their bullshit. We don't have to do that at all. And so for me, how I find joy is the return on investment on investing with my friends. Like Janicia just said, I get way more return on investment. And it shouldn't always be about give and take, but there is tons of reciprocity, tons of love, and just so many things when I invest the time that I would be invested in trying to cultivate a relationship with a man. If I invested in my friends and invested in the people that love me and show me love back, that stand up when I need them in my corner, the return of investment is immaculate and way different. So that's what brings me joy, giving to the people that love me, and that always give it back to me. So that's what it is, centering those people.
I love that. And y'all,
I have one thing I want to add. One thing. It's quick. This is something that I have done for myself to refrain my mind based on what the world tells me. And just remember that you are not the default. As a Black woman, as a Black queer person, as a Black trans person, you're not the default. You're actually the standard. Like, we literally created all the fly that we see. Like Diamond just pointed out, we created the framework and they chose not to use it. That's not your fault. And that's it becomes our problem, but it's not your fault.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I'm hearing y'all say, like a through line, is community. So we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be in community with the other Black feminists. We have a membership. Black Feminist Future has our membership. You can join. We have political education. We have resources. And we do a lot of this, y'all. Kikiing, having fun together, but also talking about real issues that affect us and how we're going to build Black feminist power together to win material conditions and build a Black feminist future. So that sound good to y'all? That sound good? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, good. So, yes, we're a little over time, but I just wanted to come back. So, our panelists have been so great, y'all. Give it up for our panelists, y'all. They're fire. So, we want to make sure that our audience, our attendees, have access to you. So, where can we find you in these internet streets, or our Slack streets, as one of our great staff workers says?
You can find me and Queen as a collective at Tea with QJ. That's TEA with QJ, and we are there on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me personally at Janicia F. Yes, JANICIAF, and that's on Twitter and Instagram as well.
You can find me on Twitter. It's at itty bitty NY. It's a family nickname. ITTYBITTYNY. You're muted, Diamond.
You can find me everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I'm supposed to be on my live right now. And Diamond Styles, Diamond spelled the regular way, STYLZ, no space. And yeah, I'm everywhere.
And Jay already told you where you can find us collectively, but my personal social media is at The Queen Speaks with the _. That's on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much for being with us. And this is just the first of many conversations, y'all. We're going to dig even deeper together. So I look forward to this, having y'all back, maybe next year around this time, you know what I'm saying? So thank y'all so much. I want to take this time to just close us out. I want to say thank you to one of our sponsors, Me Too. After talking about the summit with them, they were like, this is really, really important, because as we just talked about, Misogynoir leads to sexual violence, the perpetuating of sexual violence, and blaming the victims of sexual violence. So thank you to them. Shout out to them. Also wanted to just make sure I pointed out our awesome stations we got here. So we got our Breakup with Patriarchy station that I was talking about earlier. You can, we got Paris in the house over there writing breakup letters. So make sure you do that. We got some cool swag over there with y'all. Y'all like this t-shirt I'm wearing? Okay, so you can also purchase that over there at that table. If you are a freedom fighter or a rebel rouser, you actually get it for free. So take advantage of that. If you do become a member, we have some awesome things coming up. Just want to plug our BFF member orientation. We are dropping swag, y'all. So make sure you get in the orientation to get your link for your swag. We're also going to have a portal. It's going to be a way that we can talk to each other in real time, so we can be like, did you see this? Are y'all sure that Kevin Samuels died? Like, what's going on? So we can talk in real time. So that's going to be really, really awesome. So be on the lookout for that. We are also having an abortionist freedom skills camp. So as we talked about, we have already written the blueprint for this, right? Reproductive justice has been, we're prepared for this. So if you want to come learn how to skill up and be an AB plug, we have that coming up in June. So you can see any one of us wearing these Miss Me shirts. Just let us know. And is there anything I'm forgetting? Oh, our Okra collab. We are looking for Black feminists to participate in that. So please make sure you fill out that survey. All of this is on our website as well. So I know we have some cocktails. I mean, I remember this, but it's going to be on our website. So, and lastly, Oh, we are going to be mobilizing the weekend of Juneteenth. Look for more details for that. We're going to be in DC squatting up for our people. We've seen a lot of people who don't necessarily look like us out there on the front lines, but this is a time for us on Freedom Day for us to squat up together. So, yes, and that's all I have for y'all. Thank y'all so much. We appreciate y'all. Sign our petition, bring Brittany home. We are not going to stop until we bring her home. So make sure you mingle and get to know everyone, and please eat that food, y'all. Eat the food, drink the drinks, have a grand time. Let the music play.